Guess who got to go to Epic Universe? That's right, this is the first of many Epic Universe videos coming to this channel, and I figured since I don't make park review videos, I think it would be fitting to start with the newest park to open in the United States. At the time of this recording, I've spent 2 days at Epic Universe, and I think I have a pretty good feel for the park, and overall it is very, very impressive. So let's dig into this park. Before we get started, please like this video, please leave a comment down below, let me know if you have visited Epic Universe, and of course please subscribe to this YouTube channel. YouTube tells me that we have over 30,000 returning viewers every single month, but we are nowhere near 30,000 subscribers. So if you've watched more than one video, I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much. I'm gonna do things a little differently. I have 6 different topics that I want to talk about in this video in particular, because a lot of specifics regarding the lands and the rides are obviously going to get their own videos. So starting things off, my biggest takeaway from my first visits to Epic Universe was how impressed I was with the amount of kinetic energy in this park. It is absolutely incredible. When I first walked up to the Kronos Tower on day 1, it was not spinning, so I was really disappointed. I was like, I can't believe it broke already. But when the park opened, it started spinning, so I thought that was really cool. That was amazing. I'm glad they tied it in to like an opening ceremony. That was really, really cool. On day 2, I didn't get there early enough to see it start spinning, but you know, that's fine. But like each land has something very, very interesting going on. Like Celestial Park has a lot of water, and not only that, it has a lot of fountains. So all of the bodies of water have dancing fountains, and it's just so interesting to watch. Lots of the signs have moving pieces, which makes it infinitely more interesting to look at. Like even the Epic Universe logo for the entry portal for the Kronos Tower, it has a little spinning gadget going around it. The entrance to Stardust Racers has some spinning comments. Obviously, you have the kinetic energy from the massive dueling coaster just existing in the entry plaza. And Constellation Carousel, although it has a dome cover, you can see into it from the sides. So when that's cycling, that also provides some great kinetic energy. Overall, there's just so much motion going on, and it's so exciting to walk around Celestial Park. The use of fountains is definitely my favorite aspect. But the land that might have the most amount of kinetic energy is actually Super Nintendo World. There are so many different small-scale outdoor animatronics. It's very, very exciting walking into the land and seeing how much motion is going on. Although I'm not the biggest fan of Nintendo, by extension Super Nintendo World, I can't deny that the amount of energy is very, very impressive. I would say that's less of the case in Donkey Kong Country, but Minecart Madness cycles more often than pretty much any other outdoor ride, aside from Yoshi's Adventure, I guess, which is in the heart of Nintendo World. It's just really, really cool. I spent so much time just filming individual figures within Super Nintendo World, so when you put all of them together on Mount Beanpole, it's just very, very exciting. Creates a great atmosphere within the land. The lands that have the least amount of kinetic energy are probably the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Dark Universe. Dark Universe does have the Burning Blade Tavern, which lights on fire every so often and it spins. It also has the pulsing lights that like go throughout the land and they like cover Frankenstein's manor, so that is really, really cool. But obviously that's less impressive during the day. Unfortunately, I didn't get to walk into Dark Universe at night, which I guess just gives me a reason to go back to Epic Universe, so I'm sure that looks way cooler in the dark. They also have like a well that's just showered in mist, which is kind of eerie. The whole entry area near the portal has a lot of mist going on as well, so there is stuff happening in Dark Universe. In terms of the Wizarding World, all the kinetic energy is pretty much limited to the windows, so you have to go searching for the kinetic energy. But I think the Ministry of Magic has such a great streetmosphere. Like there's just so much going on, and it's probably the most visually impressive land. Like the scale is absolutely insane. It's so well detailed. I think this is the only part of the park where you can legitimately not see the rest of the park. Like you are just placed into Wizarding Paris. It's absolutely insane. I think the land with the most amount of kinetic energy from the rides is definitely Isle of Berk, because all 3 of the attractions in Isle of Berk are outdoors, with Hiccup's Wing Gliders, Dragon Racer Rally, and Fire Drill. On top of that, Isle of Berk also uses water. So it's very, very interesting to look at. Plus, there's a bunch of outdoor dragon animatronics, which is very, very cool. There's that ice dragon, and there's a bunch of smaller ones as well. Every single land has something going on, whether it's the windows of the Harry Potter land or like the entirety of Super Nintendo World. It is very, very, very impressive. I greatly appreciate it, and I really, really hope that they upkeep all of these moving parts, because I know it would be very easy for one thing to break and then another thing to break, and then they need to stay on top of these things. All of these things need to be moving like how they are right now. Like, there's so many moving parts in Epic Universe, I can forgive 1 or 2 aspects not working. The expectation is that a vast majority of the things that are moving in the first month of this park's operations stay moving as this park ages. Moving on to the next topic I want to discuss, it is Sightlines. So I've heard a lot of people complaining about the Sightlines of Epic Universe. I think I have a different approach to Sightlines than I used to. Like, I am spoiled with Disneyland, which might have the greatest sightlines for any theme park in the world, or at least in the United States. Like, I don't think it's the end of the world if you can see an attraction in another land while you're in one specific land. Like, the biggest example of this is when you're walking around Isle of Berk, you can see Stardust Racers very, very well because it's such a large scale ride, like right on the doorstep of the land. So a lot of people are like, oh, it breaks the immersion of Isle of Berk. But in reality, it's a major attraction in the park. So I don't think it's the biggest deal that you can see a major attraction in the park while you're walking around the park, you know? Also, it kind of fits like within the story of the park because the lore behind Stardust Racers is before the Celestials discovered how to use portals for transportation. They were using comets. So now that they are using these portals to travel to the different worlds within Epic Universe, the comets were kind of left without a purpose, so now they're being used for races. So I mean, if you're on a world such as Isle of Berk, I think it's perfectly reasonable to look up and see comets racing, you know? Like, it's not in How to Train Your Dragon, it's above How to Train Your Dragon within the story of the park. And also, it's just so interesting to watch. Like, a lot of the footage I have of Stardust Racers is from within Isle of Berk because it's such a great view. So it's not like it's a massive eyesore. The biggest sightline issue within Epic Universe is if you're inside the station for Stardust Racers, you can see the back side of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and it is butt ugly. It looks terrible because when you're within the land, you're completely surrounded by these massive buildings, and of course they only themed the side that you can see when you're within the land, so when you're outside of the land, it looks kind of ugly. And really, you can only see the unthemed parts when you're in the station for Stardust Racers, so hopefully they're able to do something about that in the future, but who knows. In terms of Dark Universe, I would say the biggest sightline concern would be Helios, because you're really close to that massive hotel structure. So it does kind of tower over the land, more so than I expected. But again, just like seeing Stardust Racers from Isle of Berk, I don't think it's that big of a deal that you can see Helios from inside Dark Universe. Nintendo World has way better sightlines than the Nintendo World at Universal Hollywood. I will say that leaving Donkey Kong Country is kind of an eyesore. Like, you just kind of see the backside of Super Nintendo World, and it's not themed very well, which really suffers from the juxtaposition of walking into Donkey Kong Country. It's an absolutely beautiful reveal, seeing those waterfalls that I forgot to mention earlier, and the kinetic energy of the minecarts racing around that attraction. So overall, although the sightlines of Epic Universe are not perfect, I don't think there's too much to complain about. The only major concern is the backside of Ministry of Magic. Alright, the next topic we're going to discuss is how these lands complement each other. I think it's very, very, very well done. They did a great job choosing how to design the lands for this park. It's like perfectly balanced. You have Dark Universe and the Ministry of Magic in the back half of the park. Ministry of Magic is on the right and Dark Universe is on the left. They are the two smallest lands, and the two larger lands, which are Super Nintendo World and Isle of Berk, are right across from each other in the front half of the park. So it feels perfectly mirrored, especially when you consider Isle of Berk and Super Nintendo World are tied for the most amount of attractions because both have 3. Plus, I think it's very interesting that Isle of Berk and Super Nintendo World are both very, very colorful. The two lands in the back half of the park are much more dark. There's a lot less color, especially in Dark Universe. Like, all of the buildings are gray and black, which is perfect for that land. but it's really striking if you walk into Dark Universe and Isle of Berk in the same day. Like, Isle of Berk has so much color, it has so much light, so much kinetic energy, as we discussed. Like, there's just a lot happening. So if you start your day in Isle of Berk and then you walk into Dark Universe later, it's really gonna hit you how all of that color is completely gone. And I think that's really, really well done. It really adds to the effect of Dark Universe, because watching footage of Dark Universe before I went, I was like, I don't really understand how this is gonna feel, because it's like supposed to be a dark and scary land, but it's kind of hard to pull that off in the blinding summer sunlight of Orlando, Florida. So I know this land will absolutely thrive at night, and I'm a little sad I didn't get to go in there at night, but again, it's a reason to go back. And I wonder if they're gonna have like a Halloween event in Dark Universe. That would be so cool. I feel like they're gonna do it at some point. Whether that's this year or in the years to come, it's definitely gonna happen. That's really, really cool. And if we compare the two colorful lands to each other, which are Nintendo World and Isle of Berk, they're very, very different. The colors in Nintendo World feel like more plasticky, which was by design. Like, the colors in Isle of Berk seem much more natural. Like, there's lots of greens and reds. Obviously, you have the blue with the water. You do have that natural rock work with the gray, which is the centerpiece of the land. Well, obviously, Super Nintendo World is much more cartoony and, as I said, plasticky. Even in Donkey Kong Country, which has more natural colors. But it was just so well designed. In terms of Wizarding Paris, this is the other less colorful land. I think because all the buildings are so gray, it really makes the color pop in the circus tent for Le Cirque Arcanu. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. And of course, there's that massive Paris sign, which is red, white, and blue on the building that you see when you enter the land. So that's really, really cool. And of course, you have the golden bird or golden eagle. That really pops against the gray structures as well. So, very well designed. Epic Universe handled color very, very well. When real photos inside Epic Universe started surfacing, like, the colors, like, really matched the concept art, and I know that impressed a lot of people, and I'm happy to say that it is just as impressive when you set foot in the park. Not only do these lands complement each other, I think these rides are very, very balanced. Because the two biggest dark rides in this park are Monsters Unchained and the Ministry of Magic, and they are right across from each other in terms of the park layout. In terms of roller coasters, every single land has a roller coaster except for the Ministry of Magic, so that might be something worth changing going forward. And as I mentioned earlier, both Nintendo and How to Train Your Dragon have 3 attractions. So it was very, very, very well done. It is a shame that Ministry of Magic had the second attraction cut, because then it would be perfectly balanced. Even Celestial Park has the carousel on the left and it has the roller coaster on the right. Very well thought out, very well done in my opinion. By far the biggest criticism that Epic Universe has been getting are the amount of outdoor attractions. There's really only 3 rides that stay open in the rain, and obviously in Orlando, Florida, there's a lot of rain. Even the covered carousel can close when there is inclement weather, which is kind of a shame. I'm not really sure how and why that happened, because I feel like they really should have designed the attraction to be able to operate in the rain if it has a cover. Like, I don't know if it's because the sides are so open. Maybe it's just an early park thing. Maybe they'll be able to get it under control, but I don't know. Like, obviously it's completely understandable for the outdoor roller coasters to close in the rain, especially when there's lightning. I was very fortunate on my trip. There was minimal inclement weather when I visited Epic Universe, so I was pretty much in the clear. It was about an hour or so in my first day where everything except for the 3 dark rides did close because of lightning in the area, so that is worth noting. Hopefully this can be changed going forward, but we will see. In terms of downtime, I also got pretty fortunate with Epic Universe. I don't think Ministry of Magic or Monsters Unchained went down at all during my 2 visits, so that's very, very impressive. The big culprit for downtime from my experience was Minecart Madness. I waited 70 minutes in the single rider line to get on it for the first time, and when we were about to get on, the thing went down, and it was down for about 2 hours. So when we came back, we were about to get on, and the thing broke again. But fortunately, they fixed it within 15 to 20 minutes, but it looked like a very similar downtime, so I was scared. I was like, there's no way this is happening again. I was able to secure a ride on Minecart Madness, but that was definitely very frustrating. It is a new park, but they did have a preview period for like 2 months, so there's that. And also a lot of these rides have been cycling for like over a year. I'm not sure if Minecart Madness is one of those rides, but still. I rode Stardust Racers 4 times over 2 days, and when I was in line for my 4th time, they did close the attraction so that they could add a 3rd train to both sides. So that was really frustrating. That took really long. It was like a 25 to 30 minute delay just to add trains to the attraction. So that was very frustrating. The part we were stuck in was the queue area after the security screening but before the station. So I thought that was very frustrating. I don't think they should willingly close the attraction when you have guests waiting without anything. We were all just standing and staring. So that was pretty frustrating because it literally was a self-inflicted downtime. And on top of that, this occurred with like about an hour left the park's operation. So why did they go down for 30 minutes to add a 3rd train to both sides for like an hour or 2 before the park closed for the night? Like, that was genuinely stupid. If they were gonna do it, they should have cycled out. They should have let everyone who was in line ride the attraction with 2 trains on both sides, and then add a 3rd train when you don't have any guests in line without their stuff. Or I would prefer if there were no guests in line, period. Just close the entrance for the ride, let everyone go through the attraction. When everyone has exited, go down, add the trains, which apparently takes 30 minutes for Stardust Racers, and then reopen. Not having your phone in line is a very big inconvenience, and this is the 3rd time that this has happened to me, which is very frustrating. I travel with people who don't want to ride roller coasters as much as I do, so oftentimes when I'm in these situations, our party is split up, so you cannot contact the other people in your party when you don't have your phone. So it was genuinely a very stupid decision. It was very frustrating, especially because it was the end of the 2nd day that we spent at the park, so obviously I didn't have the most energy at that point. It was actually the last day of the trip, so I was drained. I like barely sleep when I go to Orlando, so I didn't really have the patience to deal with these baffling operational decisions. Alrighty, the last topic I want to discuss in this video is the food of Epic Universe. I had a handful of meals at this park. We tried Pizza Moon. I accidentally ordered like this purple pizza, and I actually thought it was pretty good. It looked disgusting. It looked like moldy pizza, but it tasted great. So that was really cool. I'm glad I got to try that. We tried butterbeer crepes within the Wizarding World. Those were very good, but it is a lot of the same flavor. Like, it's a pretty big dish. Like, I split a butterbeer crepe because there's like 3 or 4 of them, and there was a lot of that butterbeer flavoring or filling, so it was a lot of the same flavor, but you know, I still really liked it. So they could probably put less filling in those crepes, but it's probably better to have that issue than not enough, so it is what it is. We tried those like bread cones that went viral in the Isle of Berk. I tried the spicy chicken one. I thought it was pretty good. I also had a taste of the traditional one with the mac and cheese and like the fish crackers. Both of them were pretty good. I did prefer the chicken one, and I don't even handle spice that well. Unfortunately, I did not eat anything in Dark Universe or Super Nintendo World. I will say that I have eaten at the Toadstool Cafe at Universal Hollywood, and I think it's like fine. I remember it being pretty good, nothing great. But a lot of the Dark Universe food looks pretty good. That's for next time though. And that'll be my review video for Universal Epic Universe. Have you visited this park? What do you think of this park? I literally have over 10 videos planned for Epic Universe, so I'm gonna try to spread them out. I'm gonna try not to dump them all at the same time, but I have a lot of work ahead of me, so I thought it would be a good idea to start with a general overview before we dig into the specifics of Epic Universe, because oh man, there is a lot to talk about with this park. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like the video. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the park, and of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will catch you later.